Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 298 of McRae Live. The date today is Friday, December the 6th, 2024, 1:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dave McRae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. Hard to believe we're up to 298 of these babies. And I thought it would be a fun show today to look at some half-star reviews. Not 1 star, half a star. The lowest of the low, the dog shit of the dog shit, the smelly springtime dog shit thawing in the springtime type of reviews for the original Halloween from 1978. I thought this would be a fun one to do because, you know, one of the things that I sometimes get accused of is, Dave, you know, the original Halloween's not that great, Dave. It's dated. It's this, that, and the other. And, you know, I think it's overrated, and I think this, and I think that. And you never talk, you never say anything negative about it, which is not actually true. I have my issues with the original Halloween from 1978. Some of the acting is a bit, you know, suspect. Some of the edits, I think, are a bit suspect, but it's also an independent film made on $300,000 in 1978, right? I mean, you know, you have to put things within their context. You know, it's not, you know, The Exorcist. It didn't have the resources or the budget or the talent that The Exorcist had. So, you know, again, you have to put things in its context, but it's still my favorite horror movie of all time, one of the greatest of all time, you know, is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I do think all things considered, it still holds up very well because it's the universal timeless, although maybe a bit dated in their execution, the universal and timeless techniques that are used, those old school Hitchcockian theater of the mind kind of stuff. You know, I've said it ad nauseum, but those there's a charm to it. It's timeless. You know, as Psycho is timeless and Rear Window is timeless. You know, there's certain ways that old horror movies can be executed that will be dated because, you know, with the improvement of technology and production value and all that kind of stuff and acting and sure, but they become timeless because of the techniques that were used. Whereas something like, you know, Freddy's Dead, not so timeless. Very dated. I would argue that something like Freddy's Dead or even Halloween, I don't know, Resurrection is even more dated than something like the original Halloween. And I'm not talking about its production value. So anyway, but I thought it would be fun to jump on and look at some half-star reviews for the original Halloween from 1978. From Letterboxd, not Rotten Tomatoes, because they don't do that kind of thing, but from Letterboxd. Now, funny enough, I actually had no idea that Letterboxd existed until I did It's Me, Billy. Because somebody had reached out to me when we launched that movie and said, Dave, you know, you should check out the reviews on Letterboxd. And I kind of feel a bit ashamed that I had never heard of Letterboxd, or maybe I did hear of it, but I didn't quite know what it was because I wasn't, like, again, I'm not somebody that, how do I say this? Like you know, I didn't have Facebook until 2009, you know, and it came out in like 04 or 05, right? I didn't have Twitter till like 2014 or 13. I didn't have Instagram until just, you know, a few years ago. You know, I'm one of those people that I'm not, it takes me a bit to get onto shit. I don't know. Maybe there's a subconscious aversion to the bullshit. I have no idea, but, I had seen people begun to do like rankings. People would share their rankings on this thing called Letterboxd. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I wonder how they do that. And then I did a search and I was like, oh, people are doing reviews and all that. And then people were like, yeah, there's reviews for, you know, It's Me, Billy. You know, and there's like 5-star reviews for It's Me, Billy. There's half-star reviews for It's Me, Billy. It's fantastic. It's great. Letterboxd is almost like and I say this with all due respect, it's almost like a poor man's, you know, Rotten Tomatoes, right? It's that thing where you don't have to be certified, you know, you don't have to, well, Rotten Tomatoes is kind of getting to a point now where even Rotten Tomatoes is getting to a point where there are some approved Rotten Tomatoes critics who, at least I've read over the years, and I just don't think they know their ass from their elbow with what they're talking about, and they speak too much from emotion rather than actually critiquing something more objectively. But anyway, I digress. Letterboxd is one of those things where anybody, their dog, their uncle can get on there and write a review. And it doesn't have to be an actual movie review. It can be just emotional, opinionated, one-dimensional, surface level. It doesn't matter. And then you have people who are on Letterboxd who are very good. I've read some, reviews from people where I'm on Letterboxd. I'm like, that's a great review. Like, this person knows what they're talking about. They've removed their emotions from it. They're speaking a little more objectively, from a story structure point of view, the acts, this, that, how it flowed. Like, it's just like, wow, that's actually really well written. And and then you go to the next review on Letterboxd and it's like, this is dog shit. And it's like, and now we're down into the gutter with, Billy Bob's fart blog. You know what I mean? So there's a gigantic spectrum, of quality, of, I hate to say it, film intelligence, but it's true. I'm not speaking about anybody specific. I mean, just look at Letterboxd and, spend 5 minutes and you'll know what I'm talking about. And it doesn't matter what movie, right? But there are some great people that have given great reviews on that site that do know what they're talking about. Oh, hey, Veda, what's going on? Veda, what's happening? So I just find that stuff kind of interesting and fascinating, and it's Letterboxd. It's anybody, anybody can sign up. You don't have to know a thing or two or be approved or screened, or, I mean, at least there's a screening, although it is not perfect, because I do think there are some, actually, I think there are probably far too many Rotten Tomatoes approved critics. There are a few people that I think are like, I don't know if you should really be talking about, because it just feels a little too emotional, but at least there's a screening process. Like, at least there's criteria you have to meet. Letterboxd, no, you just sign up with your email address and you don't have to know anything. So it is interesting. I preface this by just saying it's interesting. Like, it is really interesting to read the different kinds of, reviews. And so I thought it would be fun to jump on and read some half-star reviews of the original Halloween, sort of the foundation of this channel that, is Halloween. And certainly I'm a Halloween purist, so certainly the original Halloween, and take a look. But before we do that, let me jump over to the other screen, because I think there's some people that are going to think, no, there can't be that many half-star reviews for the original Halloween. It's the original Halloween. It's one of the greatest horror movies of all time. It's one of the most influential horror movies of all time. It was the highest grossing independent horror movie in motion picture history. Made over $50 million in the box office on a $300,000 budget. It's iconic. Michael Myers, Michael Myers, Michael Myers, Michael Myers, Michael Myers, oh my God, love Michael Myers. Halloween, 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 Halloween. Folks, there are people that think this movie is dog shit. There are a lot of people that think this movie is dog shit. Are they wrong? I don't know. We're going to go to Letterboxd and we're going to see if they can string, two sentences together with some correct grammar and some good punctuation and see if they have points. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath, though. But I thought it'd be a lot of fun. But if you think there's only a few people that have given this movie a half-star review, I would think again, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go over here. Take a look at this. Half-star review. Let me see if I can get in here. Look at that. Half-star review, folks. 2,000, what does that say? 2,255. There are 2,255 people that have given the original Halloween a half-star review. There are 6,643 people that have given the original Halloween a one-star review. There are 5,490, is it 98? 98 people have given the original Halloween a 1.5-star review. I mean, we're well over 10,000 people, ladies and gentlemen. This is wild. 26,068 people have given the original Halloween just 2 stars, folks, just 2 stars. And then, of course, we get to 2.5 stars right in the middle. We are at 29,166. So between half a star and 2.5 stars, we are well over, I would say, 50,000 people, or at least close to it. That's a lot of people, folks. That's a lot of people. Now, we're not going to go through this and read all 2,255. Excuse me if I said 56. It's actually 55. 2,255. We're not going to go through them all, of course. But for those of you that think, nah, Dave, there's not a lot of people that hate this. No way. No way. Yes way. Yes way, there are. And look, could these be Gen Zers that are so used to the modern day horror movies like, you know, Terrifier, and then they watch Halloween and they're like, this is boring, this is crap. Yeah, I'm sure there are some. Could these be, you know, yeah, or they could be people that are watching for the first time saying this is an incredibly overrated movie. This is really overrated. Don't like it. This is overrated. What is this? What is this? This is overrated. Well, let's find out. Let's jump to it. Here we go, folks. Half-star reviews from those who know best. The people on Letterboxd. Here we go. All right. The first one comes to us from Vince. And he says, not to sound thick, but nothing happened. He just breathed real loud for an hour and a half. It's got 33 likes. Wow. There you have it, folks. Lauren Rose says, who the fuck dies and moans? Half-star review. This one comes from Alicia. It says, literally a waste of an hour and a half. These people can't act for shit. And there was zero substance in the plot. I have no idea why this is considered a classic movie. It has one song play repeatedly through the whole damn movie. And honestly, they all deserve to die. They all deserve to die. Hey, do you agree with her? I mean, how we feeling? Do you agree with Alicia? Do you think they all deserve to die? I mean, maybe Annie. I mean, Annie, you know, excuse me, Lori, scared another one away. I mean, maybe Annie. Maybe Annie deserved to die. I don't know. And Annie's death, you know, I can understand looking at it through the lens of modern filmmaking and modern movie-going audiences, especially horror audiences. I can understand that, you know, this could be a bit of a funny death, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Let me know. All right, let's on. We've got, who we got? We got, I guess it's Fuck Whiz. The P is probably silent. Impressive how this film made tits, murders, and Halloween boring as shit. Boring as shit. Bree, I can't read that one. That looks like it could be in Spanish, and I'm not Spanish, but Bree gave it a half star, so it's probably not that good. We got another one here from Otis Blu-ray. Otis Blu-ray says, didn't enjoy it. Well, that's not a review. That's an opinion, but thank you. Most of these are opinions and not reviews. That's the thing with Letterboxd, is that they're not reviews, they're opinions. There is a difference, folks. There is a difference between a critique and an opinion. A big difference. And if you don't know what that is, look it up, because there is a difference. This could contain spoilers from JS Toltz 42. Let's check it out. JS Toltz 42 says, why is the nurse wearing a vampire cape? How can Michael drive if he was put away at 5 years old? Well, actually, J.S. Toltz, or J. Stoltz, maybe it's J. Stoltz. He was actually 6 and not 5. Actually. Nonetheless, Tommy looks like Donald Sutherland. He actually does look like Donald Sutherland. That's actually a very good point. I'll never be able to get that out of my head now. Again, this is not a review. This isn't reviewing the movie or anything like that. These are just bullet points of what does Tommy looking like Donald Sutherland have anything to do with knocking the film down a peg? Like, who cares, right? Anyway, this is what you get on Letterboxd. The whole movie is the same song and weird stares, then really bad, annoying dialogue, and then loud music and stares again, making it feel like a 2-hour music video for the Halloween song. That's funny. It literally has the worst death scenes ever. They aren't even trying. A kitchen knife shouldn't hold a body up like it does in this movie. Now that I kind of agree with, folks. I've even made that, remark before. I don't know who made that kitchen knife. But you got to sell that shit on the shopping channel. Let me see here. Why does Michael Myers put a jack-o'-lantern on the side table in the scene when the tombstone, with the tombstone in the bed? Well, I don't know. He's Michael Myers. It's Halloween. He wants to be festive. If the door won't open after trying 7 times, why don't you try something else before Myers took 10 minutes breaking the door down? Why wouldn't anyone open the door to a lady screaming bloody murder? Does this town just have one police officer? The closet scene is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why won't he die? Was it supposed to be comical? If it was, then I'd give it then I would give it 1 full star. But for now, half is fitting. Well, there you go, folks. Half is fitting. I don't know. Do you agree? Do you agree with it? I don't know. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Let me see here. I just want to make sure the stream's okay, right? Yeah. Yes. Okay, good. Just want to make sure we're all right, that we are live. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. It's a horror movie that the only horror involved is just a bunch of white people walking around. 91%, what does race have anything to do with it? Okay. Would it have been better if it was a bunch of Indian people walking around, or a bunch of black people walking around, or a bunch of Asian people walking around? I don't understand what race has anything to do with it, but all right. Half a star says this was the worst. Excuse me, Eva says this was the worst scary movie I think I've ever seen. Now they're asking it with a question mark. Well, I can't answer that for you. Only you can answer it. Remove the question mark. Make it a period. Make it a statement. Commit fully, Eva. Commit fully. I had high expectations, but it was completely anticlimactic and not scary at all. Now, again, a question mark. Get rid of the question mark, put a period there, make it a statement. Why are you asking me? I don't know. Only you can answer that. And everyone acted stupid as fuck. And Laurie didn't even fight back. Another question mark. Ava, I don't know yet. Well, wait, make it a statement. The soundtrack pops off, but the rest of the movie is boring and a waste of time. Now there's no period. Put a question mark in there. Maybe I could answer it for you. All right, let's move on. We've got one here that says, I got scared. I didn't like it. I got scared and I didn't like it. Okay. And then the other one down here, you can't see it because of my bar here that's in the way, but it says, me every time Michael got back up after being shot, some shit. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. All right, let's go on to the next page. Let's go on to the next page, shall we? And here we are. Again, Spanish, I'm not sure. I can't read it, don't understand it, so let's move on. It's funny shit. Let me see here. Okay, we've got... Maddie Dickinson, whatever. Outcome would have been different if anyone turned on the lights. Not necessarily. The only times the lights went on were to show boobs. Did the lights even turn on to show boobs? I don't even think they did. Maybe they did. Yeah, maybe they did. I don't give a fuck. I really hated every second of it. Well, there you go. I mean, this person has spoken, and this person knows what they're talking about. Here's another one here. We've got, he's just standing there menacingly. Yeah, that's right. It's great. Another half star. Mike Myers escapes from a mental institution 15 years after he killed this sister and returns to his hometown to kill again. And his next victims will be Laurie and her friends. Well, so far, so good. I never expected that a slasher film that is a cult classic and has widespread acclaim could be so ridiculous and boring. Mostly boring. I never felt tension, suspense, or fear. I never felt the uncompelling characters. Uncompelling? The uncompelling characters were in danger. And the killings are anticlimactic and forgettable. So overrated, folks. Do you agree? Do you agree? If you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree that the original Halloween is overrated? It's boring. I'm sick to death of Halloween. Screw Halloween. We want Freddy. We want Jason. We want Chucky. We want Art the Clown and Terrifier. Let me know below. Half star from Cliff. Cliff says, was I supposed to be scared? This is actually boring. Oh, all right, there you got it. AR Townsend says, I understand this is a classic, and I understand that this is the father of many modern horror movies, but this movie sucks. Oh, there you have it. Daniel Hambley says, the hashed slinging slasher SpongeBob SquarePants episode gave me more scares than this shower of dullness. Wow. That's like a one sentence, that's like full on Roger Ebert right there. Now, Roger Ebert loved the original Halloween. I'm just saying that's, Roger Ebert could be vicious with some of his one sentence kind of teases to get you to read the review. That's like full on Roger Ebert right there. The hashed slinging slasher SpongeBob SquarePants episode gave me more scares than this shower of dullness. Amazing. We've got Ghost Gloom says, I had trouble with this one. This movie was like a tough riddle. At the beginning, it puts you behind the mask of the monster. Then it has a bad guy running around going, this monster doesn't have a soul. But it does. A bald guy, not a bad guy. Then it has a bald guy, running around. Excuse me, that bald guy, for your information, is the legendary Donald Pleasance and the iconic Dr. Loomis. If you are going to refer to him as this bald guy, you can take your little Halloween hatred and get the fuck out. This bald guy running around going, this monster doesn't have a soul. I don't really remember that line in the movie. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall this him saying. But it does, like all things. And in this case, it's you watching this. So the answer seems to be turn the movie off. So I did. The music was really nice and cozy, like a warm fall blanket. Oh, he's got more here. Like a warm fall blanket. It's really a delight to listen to, and I can see how the technical aspects would be appealing and inspiring in a reachable way. Ultimately, though, I think this movie might be why I have trouble understanding the genre of horror. It's hard to be afraid of being murdered for no reason, I guess. And I just wanted someone to help out that guy. Just wanted someone to help out that guy. What guy? The bald guy? The killer? I don't know. Quite frankly, I think whether you're being murdered for a reason or not, I think both can be equally as terrifying and scary. But I think somebody who just kills you that's frightening. That can be really scary. There's no motive. There's no reason. It's not premeditated. It's just because you were there. That's one of the reasons why I love that line, or that final line in the original Strangers from 2008. That line when I guess it's what's her face there that says, why are you doing this? And, the girl says, because you were home. It's still one of my favorite lines in any horror movie is from that original film. And because I remember thinking, yeah, that's what it's all about. That brings the whole point of the movie home. They're strangers. There is no reason why they're doing it. It's not premeditated. They're not there to rob them they're just there to fuck with them and then kill them. Why? Just because? Why not? Like literally, why not? But our brains, it's hard for our brains to comprehend that sometimes, right? So, I think it's great. There's no reason. M. Day Shamalama says, I watched this on Christmas. Checkmate liberals. I watched this on Christmas. Checkmate liberals. Okay. I don't know what that's to do with politics, but all right. We got another one. I can't read it. That's all right, though. The one below, I'm sure there are people that will translate for me who are my Spanish brethren. Unexpectedly dull, hyped with its sleazy reputation, but was robbed of actual scares. Forget that it looks good, or that its score is worth the creeps, or that it tried to be Argento light, or that it's John fucking Carpenter. But come on. Fuck. And then that last one down there is, if you rated this 5 stars, I need an apology with tears right now. Incredible, folks. Incredible. People do not like again, nearly 2,500 people gave this a 1-star review. Here's another one here. We've got, it's terrible for so many reasons, but Michael Myers jumping from the balcony when he was supposed to fall made me laugh. Jumping from the balcony? Did he jump from the balcony? I don't think he jumped from the balcony. You know, I understand that whoever that was going like this did turn around to face the other way. And then, of course, we have, what's his face? You know, fall off, who did the stunt. It is a little weird. The editing's a little weird because he goes out the door facing the other way and then he falls. But it's not like he goes that way and jumps. He doesn't jump. It is corrected a bit with Windburn. I was going to say Windburn. It is corrected, but it does look a little weird that his back now is to the, so we kind of have to fill in the gaps in our own mind that he went and he spun around and, you know, whatever. But he does not jump. Laura says, Michael is so gay for being afraid of boobies. Well, I mean, we don't know. Maybe Michael is gay. You got a problem with that? What's wrong with that? It's 2024. I mean, it was 1978, but still, maybe Michael likes the dudes. Come on, get with the program, Laura. God. Anyway, if you want to survive, just wear a bra. That's all. Well, that might be actually some good advice for a horror movie. If you want to survive, just wear a bra. Imagine having a killer so bland with zero motivation whatsoever and ever comparing him to slashers with substance. Great score and Jamie Lee Curtis, though. Ooh, nope. Dan the McMahon is like, fuck this. This is dog shit. Michael Myers is trash. That's basically what he's saying. Why won't Michael literally just die? Because of a little thing called business. Why won't Jason die? Why won't Freddy die? Why won't Art die? Why won't Leatherface and them all? Business. Business! PewDiePie. Oh, is this the PewDiePie? Like the PewDiePie? Or is it somebody else pretending to be PewDiePie? I don't know. Anyways, they say a colossal waste of time. I want the hour and a half of my life back, John Carpenter. Go make me a house or something. Ooh, I don't know if that is the PewDiePie. I mean, even I know the name PewDiePie. If it is the PewDiePie, folks, even a huge YouTuber with fuck this. Then again, he's also probably a Gen Z or whatever he is. Probably looking at this going, it happens. Objectively dog shit. It's objectively dog shit. Horrendous acting, incredibly dumb plot, not scary at all. Truly a perfect example of just because it's a classic doesn't mean it's good. Oh, there you go, folks. Just because it's a classic doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's good. I don't know. That is true, by the way. Just because something is a classic doesn't mean that it will... Usually when a movie is a classic in its time and becomes a classic, it resonated, whether that's at the box office or you know, with the general public at that time. Usually classics are classics for reasons, and they do have a somewhat of a broad audience appeal and love, and that's part of what makes them classics. But that doesn't mean that those classics will translate well for modern audiences. And the further and further you get away from the dates of when these movies are released and the generations go by and go by and go by, the more difficult it is to have younger generations who are so desensitized and have grown up in the digital era. And the more we go along, it'll be growing up in the virtual reality era, and then the chip in your brain era, and then the, you know, whatever, right? I mean, who knows what the world's going to be, you know, 100 years from now. And so, you know, the further we get away, obviously, yes, it becomes more and more difficult for younger generations to understand why these things are classics. They may not appeal to you today, just as, you know, a movie from the 1930s, you know, or a silent film. If I just watch it through the lens of my 45-year-old brain, I might sit there and go, well, this is not something that would appeal to me. But if I watch it through the lens of what that time was like in 1928, or 1919, and Charlie Chaplin was, doing his shit, and watch it and then look at some of the effects they were able to pull off at that time. Again, you have to watch it within its context. But if you're not taught to do that, or you don't have a father or a sibling or taking a film class or whatever it is, if you're just growing up in your own circle, in your own echo chamber of people your age who also don't have that, yeah, you will not be able to appreciate older art, film, television, whatever it is, music, through the lens of that time. And the further we get away from that time, that is the only way that younger generations will be able to appreciate it, is looking through it through that lens within its context, because it will no longer be relevant. Sometimes things come back around, right? Nostalgia for sure. But at the end of the day, generally, you will forever, once 20 years goes by, you got to start looking at it through the lens of its time. And that can help you appreciate. There's nothing objective about it. Terrible, says terrible. Myers doesn't even say his iconic lines. Groovier, yeah, baby. What a letdown. That's funny. This movie sucks. You're all blinded by titties. There's not even that. Like, look, yes, PJ Souls shows her boobs, but it's not like, come on. To say that we're all blinded by titty, there's like the tit shots, what? Like, I don't know, 5 seconds? That's a cop-out, my man. That's a cop-out. And then the one below this, again, my bar here at the bottom, it says, not sure how this can be considered a classic when the most exciting thing that happens is a mediocre jump scare near the end. This film is one of the most boring things I've ever endured. No amount of alcohol consumption can save this film. Oh my God. Wild. Absolutely wild. This is so mind-numbing. How do people enjoy it? I'd not seen this before. Maybe in 1978, this was good. Okay, all right, okay. Now stay with me here. Stay with me. Today, it feels like every character acts like a moron, and it's more irritating than anything else. Well, some horror movies are really good today at presenting, properly motivated decisions, but there are also teen slashers released today that don't do that as well. So let's not pretend this was just a 1970s old school thing. Irritating, he says. For fuck's sakes, turn on a light, idiots. Carpenter's worst film, worse than Ghosts of Mars. Irritating shit. Wow. Folks, do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? Worse than Ghosts of Mars. This person says it right here. The original Halloween from 1978 says worse than Ghosts of Mars, ladies and gentlemen. Woo-wee! That is some, wow. That's crazy. Let's move on here. Oh, here we go. Oh, what do we got here? This is a long one, I think. Oh yeah, here we go. All right. I am never listening to you people again, actually. You can get rid of the actually. Friday the 13th, I am so sorry for saying you were boring and slow moving. I thought this was the slasher of all time. Where is the slasher? Is she in the room with us? She? Took this man 57 minutes to strangle someone. I hate when I complain about movies being boring because it makes me look like a baby with no attention span. But this movie literally gave me nothing to work with. Like, we could have at least been following the doctor guy or something, but no. Let's watch these teenagers literally just walk around for an hour and a half. Let's look at the same 3/4 view shot of a house for the 100th time. Let's listen to that fuck-ass song again. I hated it. Somehow more than Friday the 13th. This is going in the movies old people saw when they were kids and thought it was the scariest thing ever, and now is held as one of the greats, even if it really isn't. List. We'll never be watching again. Woo-wee! Spikes came out firing, ladies and gentlemen. Spikes came out firing. Do you agree with Spikes? Whoo, man, oh man. I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Alley Girl says, hopefully she won't watch a violent. I wonder what these people think of In a Violent Nature. They probably love it. I have to admit, I actually did like it. I didn't like all of it. I thought the first 20 minutes was actually quite strong, and then the novelty kind of began to wear thin. But I didn't dislike it as much as as some people did. Wow, that's some. And you know what? Like, listen, as much as the original Halloween is my favorite, horror movie of all time, and one of my favorite movies of all time, I do understand, not like I don't know how old these people are. This was well written. I mean, the proper grammar and sentence structure and that. Sometimes you get shit where it looks like it's written by a 5-year-old. No offense, but it's true. So it's hard to gauge the age and what their experience is like with horror and the genre and whether do you know what I mean? Like it's hard. So, but some things that people say, like, I can understand. One of the things that we are seeing, one of the common things that we are seeing through all of these, quote unquote reviews, is the common mention of it being boring. And, when you look at it through the lens of 2024, the original Halloween is boring. It is. When you look at it through the lens of how films are shot today, how films are edited today, the quick cuts, the more in your face, the pacing, the modern production value, it's a different style of filmmaking. It's more pensive in its approach. It's more, again, that slower burn, that more of that theater of the mind, and that stuff. Although we do see that today, you do get some theater of the mind. Like, I just watched Smile 2 last night. Loved it. I was somebody that really liked the first one. I liked Smile 2. I thought it was really great. That was really slow burn. But again, think of everything that's going on in that movie, right? You get a lot of jump scares. It's modern production value, modern presentation. There's still an energy to the picture and a vibe to the picture. Even though that's a slow burn, right? Long legs, right? Again, it still has that modern sort of sensibilities about it, technology, the feel, the production value, the acting, the presentation, the editing, even though it's a slow burn as well. So if you're used to looking at, pictures from today, I can understand why this would seem really boring to you. I mean, watch the original Psycho. My God. I mean, Psycho could be seen as really boring too, right? So again, my only advice would be is to do your best to try and look at classics, understand why they're classics, read about them, how they affected audiences back then, and try to watch them through that lens. It'll help. But yeah, Spikes was not having it. Not having it. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And it actually pisses me off how iconic this movie and the character have become. It pisses him off. Wild. I don't know what that says. This movie is so fucking boring. No plot, no nothing. There you go. This is actually the worst film I have ever watched. Again, just so we know, these two things right here, these two, I mean, 99% of this actually is not. But this is not a movie review. This is not a movie review. And we live in a day and age now where this is a movie review. And it doesn't mean anything. This is just your opinion. Just to let you know. Now, he could fire back and go, or Holly could fire back and go, well, yes, of course, it's just my opinion. I'm just letting people know, because there are people out there that think they have written a review or they give a review on something and you haven't. You've given your opinion. Anyways, look up the difference. There's a difference between a critique and an opinion. Nothing happened. Well, that's not entirely true. Boring as fuck, says Mackenzie, with just as much substance as a porno. I can't believe someone would make this. I don't care if this is one of the most classic and famous horror films because it is so incredibly boring. And I hope to never have to watch it again. And then Queen here says, sunlight and green grass for the first quarter of an hour in the movie, and the killer walking among the trees in daylight is not scary at all. Very boring events. Well, I take issue with this. I take issue with this one right here because he's not walking amongst the trees, right? Again, this is sort of just a blanket statement. Because some people have said that to me. They've often said, because I have, it's no secret that I have criticized Don Shanks walking around in the daylight in Halloween 4, where he's just, kicking rocks. And, I've often said, again, these are people that don't quite understand, what I'm saying. I've often said that Michael Myers should never be seen really, in the daylight, all that kind of stuff. And then people will often say, but Dave, what about Michael Myers standing across the street when Laurie's looking through the window? What about Michael Myers in Mr. Riddle's backyard? What about Michael Myers standing by the bush, right? What about, that's during the daytime. And I say, yes, that's true, but he's not walking, he's standing. And he's standing still in all three of those shots. And he's always at a distance, right? It's always at a distance. And so there's an eeriness to it because you can't quite make out the details of the features. You can see the white mask, and the white mask is very eerie, but it's not close up, right? In broadly, in sunshine. So the mask doesn't look... The best way to showcase the Michael Myers mask in the daytime is from a distance, because then your eyes can't make out the details of the mask. So it looks eerie. It looks like that pale face. It looks very, very, very eerie. And because Dean Cundy, can't craft the lighting yet and use shadows and low-key lighting and split lighting and all that kind of stuff like he can during the nighttime scenes to really craft the look and make it look really, really, really eerie, it's best to showcase it from a distance. And so that's why it works. It works. And it works because Michael's just standing there. And then he doesn't turn and walk behind the bush. He just takes a step behind the bush. And it's so eerie. It's very eerie and creepy. So from a distance, and the fact that he's just standing there in all three shots lends to the credibility, not the credibility, but the lends to the feeling, the eeriness feeling, the eerie feeling of how that is of those scenes. So stylistically, it was the right choice to make. So it's not that you can't show Michael Myers in the daytime, it's how you show him in the daytime. And kicking stones and rocks facing the other way in Halloween 5 under a tree, like he's waiting for his mark or his cue, or for the director to be like, okay, now is just, what's he doing? He should have just been, if he was just standing there, that's eerie. But he's not. He's just moving around like it just looks ridiculous. So there's little nuances and details. You got to really kind of dive into what I'm talking about. Anyway, I have videos on my channel where I talk all about it, of course. But yeah. All right, we'll do a couple more here. We'll do a couple more, and then we'll jump over to see what you are all saying. Sorry, but I thought this was, let me guess, so boring and stupid. The part where Jamie Lee is screaming for help and the neighbors make eye contact and then turn the porch lights out made me giggle. There you go. Every kill was so anticlimactic, I'm disappointed. Not Morbius. All right. Sucks ass, no plot. Sucks ass, no plot. Sucks that great ass. Al Pacino, great ass. For like an hour, nothing really happened. And it's not like after that hour, this goes batshit crazy or anything. It still was very, very slow. For a supposed thrilling horror film about a serial killer, this is extremely boring. Terribly boring. I'm not sorry. No offense, but this is fucking shit. Probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Horrendous and boring as hell. Just because it's a classic doesn't mean it's good. Looking forward to the next 300 sequels. Was low-key boring, and that song got annoying quick. I really don't understand what I'm supposed to get out of this. I don't enjoy being scared, but I wasn't even scared. I wasn't entertained. Let me try this again. I really don't understand what I'm supposed to get out of this. I don't enjoy being scared, but I wasn't even scared. It kind of feels like you should say I do enjoy being scared, but I wasn't scared. That kind of feels like how you should phrase it. But anyway, I wasn't entertained. I wasn't moved. I wasn't interested. I just felt absolutely nothing for 90 minutes. And there's no more damning a criticism of a movie than that. Really starting to think this is going to be a rough filmography for me. Doesn't seem like Carpenter is my kind of guy. Well, thankfully, Aiden, you'll probably enjoy the later sequels. They'll probably be more your jam. That's my guess anyway. That's my guess. All right. Oh, we're spinning here. We're spinning. There we go. Just kidding, Josh. It's obviously a 5. Please don't kill me. Oh, all right. What? Why? This sucked dick. Why? Dick? Are you sure? Okay. Did I miss something? This was literally one of the worst films I've ever seen. I don't understand. The acting, especially the screaming and crying, was bad to the point it was insufferable. I wanted to strangle them all myself. Jamie Lee Curtis, why do I dislike you so much? Well, it may have something to do with her Instagram. I don't know. Absolutely atrocious film. I know this was made years ago and served as some template for all slasher films to come, but this has aged as horrifically as a cartoon, as horrifically as a carton of milk kept in the refrigerator for more than a few years. Let me explain. Oh, good. We're going to get some juicy details here. Let me explain. The whole film is a template lacking a narrative of any kind of substance. People who you don't give two fucks about are murdered in the most uncreative and boring ways imaginable. Yes, they managed to make the killing part of a slasher film extremely uncreative and boring. The characters in the plot are wafer thin with absolutely no character development or plot twists. You can see and predict the entire film after seeing a few clips here and there. It is plain boring and absolutely not worth your time. And not worth your time when we have interesting and engaging slasher films such as Audition or Martyrs. Well, yes, but I think you're comparing apples and oranges here, if I do say so, but okay. Fuck you, Jamie. Wow. Absolutely so fucking ass. Why did she not confirm the kill? Oh, I see what you're saying. This movie is so fucking terrible. Oh my God. They didn't even try to make a fucking plot. Why is this shit famous? Like, what the fuck? All right. Okay, I watched this again, and I honestly have no idea what the appeal for a super slow slasher with only 3 kills, 5 if you count the intro, and dog. Excuse me, you're forgetting the mechanic. Okay, Phelps Garage. Hello, actually. It honestly astounds me because the acting, audio, cinematography, pacing, and plot are all bad. They're all bad? Really? Okay. I swear this was thought to be good just because of the music and because it's the first of a new genre. Subgenre. Horror fans have incredibly low standards for entertainment. Well, okay. Now, folks... This is something I can get behind. I mean, if there's one review I can get behind in the general sense, there it is. There it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. Horror fans have incredibly low standards for entertainment. Now, obviously, I'm speaking generally. I'm not picking on anybody specific, but generally speaking, that is true. And that is why there are so many bad horror movies and so many sequels. So that's probably it. That's probably it. I don't know. All right. Again, we'll do a few more here. This is fun. How many have we done? Hey, there's only 2,000 more to go. No. This review may contain spoilers. All right. Laugh out loud. Oh, no, excuse me. Look, I thought that was laugh out loud. Look, I wanted to like this. I really did. But it was just fucking terrible. There was random ass dialogue that wasn't needed. It was way too slow for a horror movie. And for some reason in my country, it's rated R18. You didn't see any blood the whole movie. And the worst thing is the movie, and the worst thing in the movie was boobs. I get that it was made in the 70s and they didn't know how to make realistic killing scenes, yada, yada, yada. But they could have done better. Just because it's a classic doesn't mean it's a good movie. One of the most boring and anticlimactic classics I've seen so far. I don't even think it deserves to be known as a slasher movie when all he did was waddle around while breathing heavily. Also, the sexualization of the teen girls, especially during their deaths, was so weird and uncomfortable. All right. Well, welcome to 1978. The most overrated horror movie ever. Michael Myers is such a shit villain. He's shit, ladies and gentlemen. A disabled toddler could outrun him. Whoa, hang on a sec here, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on a sec here. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Additionally, literally nothing happens the entire movie. I honestly don't know how 9 other movies were made after this one because I doubt they get better as they go on. Don't watch. Even if you are a big horror fan trying to watch all the classics, it is the biggest waste of time. I got more joy in writing this review, it's not a review, than in watching the entire movie. Shit film, basically tits and nothing else. And even then, I began to root for Mr. Myers. Ooh, Mr. Myers. It's very, respectful of you. I began to root for Mr. Myers within the first half hour because holy shit, those were some annoying teens. My dad said that he watched this when he was 6 and is absolutely terrified of him. I'm sure at that time it came out, it was probably seen as scary, but I genuinely don't understand how a modern audience can think it's anything other than a boring movie. The majority of the film consists of watching people walking or driving. You are constantly waiting for action to start, and when it does, right at the very end, it is extremely underwhelming. The acting is terrible and the movie isn't scary in the slightest. The soundtrack is very annoying and it takes away from the film more than it adds to it. I'd love to understand why so many people today still enjoy this movie because I can't understand. It doesn't even have the redeeming quality of being so bad it's good. It was just bad. I guess it is good to know that the concept of characters making stupid decisions in these movies isn't a new thing. Woo-wee! There you go, folks. Again, sounds like somebody who's quite young watching it through the lens of today's movie-going audience. It happens. It's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare. Incredibly boring. Michael has legs for real. All right. Heavy breathing. John Carpenter movies without mullets suck. All right, we'll do one more page, and then we'll move over to the chat room. One more page. Here we go. I can't think of even one good aspect of this movie and why it was a success. Even other horror movies from the 70s and 80s are good 40 or 50 years later. But this is a shit show. Hey, that's my saying. The acting, the plot, more like plot holes, the jump scares, and the dialogues, including a pedo joke, are simply put, very poorly executed. Yeah, that Lindsay joke didn't age very well. And who knows if it even was good then. Unfortunately, this movie is very slow. Too slow for me. I can't Excuse me, I can definitely see others enjoying this movie. Wow, so you can, okay. However, I find it hard to sit still and wait for something to happen. The suspense just feels like awkward pauses. Hard to watch, felt bored the whole time. I've never been more bored in my whole life. Stupid and dumb. How did they make 9 sequels to this? Whew. All right. Okay. So basically, they spend 30 seconds explaining Michael's backstory, and the rest is just an excuse to sexualize high school girls. To the point where, as they're being stabbed, they are moaning with their full chest out. because this is just porn with extra steps. Wow. Okay, Lisa. There is literally more moaning than dialogue about Michael and why he's doing this or anything to make him compelling, because he's not the focus. The focus is degrading and sexualizing high school girls. Why else would the majority of the film be about their sex lives and promiscuity instead of actual backstory? Yeah, promiscuity. Yes, I think I said that right. Promiscuity? I think that's how you say that. Instead of actual backstory or the literal serial killer. Whew. Needless to say, Lisa will not be watching anymore. What the hell? I hate this movie so much. This was genuinely so boring. Why the fuck does every character have like zero common sense? Every part of this film is trash. It's so bad. It is the worst thing I have ever put myself through. Please. Get rid of the please. Score gave me a migraine. Possibly the most frustrating movie I've ever seen. No character, no perspective, no message, not entertaining. Wow. And then finally, too many plot holes for my taste. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, holy snapping crap. There are a bunch of half-star reviews on Letterboxd for the original Halloween from 1978. If you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with some of these people? I mean, some of the things are really short. Do you agree with some of the more lengthy, quote-unquote, reviews? Do you think some people have some points? Again, like I said a few moments ago, I think I know one of the more common themes that we're seeing throughout these reviews, and I have no doubt that it would continue if I kept reading, is that it is boring. And I think that would likely continue into the 1-star reviews, into the 1.5-star reviews. That might go away once you get into the, 2.5 or 3 stars. But certainly, and there's over 2,500 half-star reviews for the original Halloween on Letterboxd. And, but again, I mean, it could be a generational gap thing, right? It makes sense to me. If I watched Psycho, okay, well, listen, I can tell you an example. My dad rented me. Now, this isn't a horror movie, although depending on how you look at it, it could be. But this is the perfect example I'm talking about. What I'm talking about. When I was about 15 or 16, my dad rented me 2001: A Space Odyssey, the Stanley Kubrick classic. And if you've watched the movie, you know that the first, 15 minutes of that movie, 20 minutes, feels that long anyway. It takes place back, during, when there were no humans on Earth, and it's the apes, and we're watching all that and all that kind of stuff, right? And then the ape obviously discovers how to build tools and all that, and throws the bone into the air. And then one of the most iconic transitions in the history of cinema, the bone becomes a satellite to show the evolution of that technology, of humans, technology, all that kind of stuff. Well, I appreciate that now as an adult. 2001: A Space Odyssey, and for some, it's boring. But as an adult, watching it now with all the knowledge I have and all the things I've learned about storytelling and layers and symbolism and this, 2001 is a brilliant film. It is a brilliant film. The layers, the symbolism, the cinematic language, the performances, brilliant. 14, 15-year-old Dave McRae, right? although I knew a little bit, I'm a kid, I'm a child. And I'm watching this, and for the first like 15, 20 minutes, I'm sitting there, I don't understand it. I don't understand what's going on, right? I'm like, this is just boring as shit to me. What the fuck is going on, right? Because I'm too young. I'm too young. And that can happen. Now as an adult, right, I look at it through the lens of 1968. I look at it through that lens. And now as an adult, as a filmmaker, having gone to film school, learning about the business and storytelling and arcs and symbolism and cinematic language and how to, oh my God, I watched that movie now and I'm like, this is fucking amazing. This is a brilliant film. One of my favorite sci-fi films of all time. And so, but back then, I don't know what the fuck this is a bunch of fucking apes walking around for 15 minutes. What's going on? You know what I mean? And so, now 2001 is far more layered, than Halloween is, but the principles are the same. So it doesn't surprise me, right? If I was 17 and watched Psycho, I'd probably be like, oh my God, because at that time I'd be more into, Scream, you know what I'm saying? Or I Know What You Did Last Summer or whatever it is. And so there is a generational thing. And unless you have an influence from a parent or a sibling or a friend or somebody that can allow you, teach you to appreciate old movies within their context and why they're so revered. And like, if you were to teach some of these people it doesn't mean that they would change their minds, but if you were to teach them about symbolism, cinematic language, where the pulse of the horror industry was at that time, how Halloween was even considered old school in 78. Because in 1978, Irwin Yablans, who I feel is the true godfather of Halloween, wanted to make, his words, not mine, an old school horror movie. Because even in 1978, that Hitchcock theater of the mind, suspense, that was starting to I mean, they were still around, but it wasn't as common. We were starting to get into more of the exploitation, especially in the 70s with films like Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes. And, we were starting to things were beginning to ramp up a bit, right? And so he wanted to kind of do something a little more old school, a little more something that you saw maybe from the 50s or the 60s. And so, if you were to teach people about that and, why The Exorcist is so, like you could watch The Exorcist today and be like, well, the effects, it looks like green, the effects and the head turning and yeah, I get that. But if you teach people about why in 1973, why this was so scary and teach people about the culture and the time and the world at that time and really sort of, again, I think, I would like to think anyway, that if more younger people today were able to look through the lens of how the world was many years ago, they would have a different appreciation for it. It doesn't mean you're going to like it and it's going to become one of your favorite movies of all time, but I think you'd be able to have an appreciation for the roots, for the history, right? And for how it was really scary. It was a terrifying film at that time, whether it was The Exorcist or Halloween or Black Christmas or, whatever horror movie, that is dated now. There's reasons why they're classics, right? That doesn't mean that I agree that there are different quality of classics for sure. And certainly, they would probably get something, they would probably be more entertained out of A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984 than they would Halloween from 1978. Totally agree. But yeah, it's fascinating to read these things and see sort of where it goes and how people see. But if you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Let's go over to, I know some super chats and member chats came in, so let me get these. Super chat comes in from KC, sends in $9.99. Thank you, says Dave. I need you to shout out Stephanie at Advanced Auto to stop talking rated X at work, please. Stephanie. This is for Stephanie at Advanced Auto. Please stop talking about rated X at work, please. Thank you very much. There you go. Brandon Collins sends in a member chat. Thank you, Brandon. Says, without context, one could never appreciate any film that isn't contemporary. Agreed. Gone with the Wind is problematic in 2025, but it's a damn great film. 100%. 100%. I agree. Absolutely. Josh McKenna, one of two, $9.99. Thank you, Josh. Says, do you know much about the Canada mail strike and why they are striking? Is it hard for Canadians to not receive mail? How is everyone handling it? Well, and then, you have another thing down there. So there is a nationwide Canada Post strike. Canada Post is the Canadian equivalent of USPS, United States Postal Service, right? It's your national postal service. But we have, there's FedEx here as well, and UPS here as well, and Purolator here as well. And we have other services, but our national service, Canada Post, is on strike. So that is why those of you that ordered Linda Griffin snow globes and ornaments have not received them yet, because I mailed them out using Canada Post the day before they went on strike. So they are coming. They're just in transit. They're stuck in transit at the moment, probably at the border, because of the strike. But Bruce and I have already signed up for... we've already created an account with FedEx because it doesn't look like the strike is going to end anytime soon. It may go into the new year. I don't know. But so we will be shipping until the strike is resolved. Moving forward, we will be shipping using FedEx. So I think Bruce made an update on the Indiegogo campaign for that. Josh then says, is singing in the movie theater a Gen Z thing? I didn't see Taylor Swift's tour movie, but I heard that teens were very obnoxious in the movie theater, just like pros like Swift, Ariana Grande sing. Well, let me say this. I haven't seen Taylor Swift's concert movie, but isn't it just a concert? Like, it's not a movie. There's not like a narrative where Taylor Swift is, maybe there's scenes where you see her in her dressing room or something. For some reason, if you're going to a concert movie, not a musical, where there's a plot, there's a narrative, there's many moments where nobody is singing, and there's dialogue, and there's exposition, and there's a story that's being told, and there's a 3 acts, right? There's, 3 acts, there's a villain, there's a protagonist, there's effects. There's a whole thing. It just happens to be during certain moments of the movie, they sing about the plot, or they will sing the exposition, or, whatever. But there's still a plot, there's still a movie. When it comes to the Taylor Swift movie, isn't it just a concert? You're watching the concert in the movie theater. Like, it's not a movie where there's like a villain and a protagonist and exposition and, 3 acts. And so if you're just going to the movie theater to watch a concert, sure. Sing all you want because you're just watching the concert. You know what I mean? But if it's a movie, that would be different. But I don't know. I'm not a Taylor Swift. I'm 45, so I have no idea. I'm not a Swiftie, folks. Cody Snyder sends in a member chat. Thank you, Cody. Says, I can understand complaining about the movie, but all these complaints about boobs are starting to get to me. It's true. It's true. Fast Forwards 289 sends in $9.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, what's up, Dave? The way some display their opinions reminds me of the ones that say they're never watching you again, or dumb celebrities that threaten to leave the country. It's like, so no one cares. Oh, yeah, I know. It's so silly when that happens. Oh, I used to get that all the time. People would say, I'm never watching Dave McRae again, and they still watch because they'll comment. They may not comment right away, but they'll watch again, when there's something, right? And then I'm sure there's a lot of people that have watched me and then don't like my opinions and then leave. Isn't it amazing though that like nobody knows who I am, right? Like you don't know who I am. You don't know. All you know is me here on the show. And on the show, I like to be theatrical and silly and do funny voices and I like to entertain while delivering the news on whatever I'm talking about, right? And I don't say so many people, but a lot of people have just completely categorized me and it's fascinating. It's really interesting, but I think it's fun. I think it doesn't bother me because, when they say I don't like Dave McRae, what they really mean is I don't like how he is. I don't like his opinions on movies. You know, I don't like that he hates my favorite movie, or I don't like that he's this or that. But I mean, as the old saying goes, right? 9 times out of 10, if you meet people away from, chances are that we'd probably all get along. We'd probably all get along. But I commend those that say they hate me and don't ever watch me again. That's the way to do it. That's the way you're supposed to do it. I mean, have standards, folks. Come on. I hate that Dave McRae, but I'm going to watch him again. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Hate me and own it. Anyway, let me see here. Josh McKenna's $9.99. Thank you, Josh. Says, Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite movies, which is why I'm obsessed with Wicked. Imagine seeing Oz in 1939 when it changed to color. Amazing. Oh my God. Could you imagine? I can't even imagine. We can't. I mean, imagine sitting in a movie theater in 1939, watching The Wizard of Oz, and then all of a sudden it changes to color when she gets to Oz. Oh my, like, I mean, it would be how we all felt, you know. Well, I mean, I wasn't alive yet. I was born in 1979, but how some of you felt watching Star Wars in the movie theater for the first time. Or for me, watching Jurassic Park or Avatar, right? The first Avatar, it's like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what it would have been like in 1939, you know, and that's how you sort of have to phrase it too, right? You know, for some people who might watch The Wizard of Oz and think it's boring and that change to color is not a big deal. Well, no, of course not, because you've been watching movies in color your entire life. But if you think about, like, you know, you use an example, right? You think about, well, you know, that thing that you were like over the, yeah. Well, imagine that's what it was like for them. Oh, wow. And then hopefully that builds a better appreciation. Like, wow. Yeah, no, you're not supposed to watch any horror movie in terms of its production value or its effects, like an old school horror movie. You never watch an old school horror movie through the lens of its production value, acting, or effects. Now, sometimes if you're not used to it, yes, depending on how dated those things are, they can take you out of the movie. I understand it. But that just tells me that you're not used to watching old school movies. Like, I've gone back and watched, you know, the classics, like I said, you know, Sunset Boulevard and Chinatown and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and, you know, oh God, Citizen Kane and so many classics that you get used to it. Like, you develop a tolerance for watching those old school films. You get into a rhythm and you get lost in the story, and the stories are fantastic. And yeah, it's dated. Of course, it's 1938 or it's 1942, but sometimes certain effects in those movies will still be chilling today. I'll be like, oh, that's so eerie. And it's really eerie because it's black and white, or it's really creepy because it's stop motion animated. And it's just like, oh, that's so eerie, that's creepy, you know, or because it's a black and white film, so it's got a little bit of that film noir, and maybe the monster kind of comes out of the closet, you know, with a half-looking face or something, and you're just like, oh, that's creepy, you know, because of that. Sometimes those little things can still hold up even today. But then again, I'm also somebody that's looking at it through a vastly different lens than somebody who's, you know, 17 today and was born in like 2005 or something. You know what I mean? It's a very different world, very different world. Scott Beckett. Hey, what's going on, Scott? Sends in $5. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that. Says, in this age where everything is shown or explained, it is refreshing to have a movie make you use your own imagination to fill in the gaps. Thanks, Dave. I agree. Absolutely. I think it's really cool when movies don't spoon feed you, or, I mean, you can't hold so much back that nothing makes any sense, but you have to give enough where the audience understands the baseline of what's going on. And then if there's enough for the audience, and again, it's plot specific, it's story, it's not a one size fits all. It's story specific, universe specific. Some universes are more, you know, in depth than others. Some have more lore and mythology. And I mean, look at Star Trek and Star Wars. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Make some of our Halloween, I mean, it's not even comparable, right? But generally speaking, yeah, if you have that baseline, then you can have fun with it. And I don't profess to be an expert on this. I'm not an expert at all. But one thing that I've learned over the years, that to be a better filmmaker and a better storyteller, and I'm still learning to be one, of course, is if you understand symbolism, mythology, even religion to a degree, cinematic language, like if you can, and you don't have to be an expert, but one of the reasons why Star Wars resonated so powerfully with audiences is, yes, the effects were absolutely groundbreaking for sure, but the universal themes, the stories, or the story and the themes and the symbolism that was rampant through, especially that first film and the original trilogy, it's not original themes. Like, these go back to mythology and religion and, the hero's journey, right? And all these things. And we as an audience aren't meant to necessarily pick up on those things consciously, right? It's subconscious, right? And George Lucas had a terrific grasp on religion and mythology. And he basically created his own religion practically, right? And those, we don't think of this consciously. I mean, maybe now we think about it more because we're able to analyze it. But there are reasons why the story of this farm kid on this planet and then wants a better life, and like, we don't, it's those things that are universal, right? And then you paint that against everything else, it becomes wildly relatable, and across generations and language barriers and religions and cultures and all that kind of stuff. I mean, not all cultures like Star Wars. I'm just saying that there is that potentiality for that. But anyway, yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really cool that when you can not spoon feed people, but give them enough, or play around with symbolism and cinematic language, and rather than to just say it, you can paint the picture in different ways. And by understanding how to do that, and if you know how to do it well, you can make your audience feel certain ways. Like, you can affect the feeling of your audience without saying a single thing or painting the obvious. It's really, really cool. And I'm not an expert on it. We did do a lot of it in It's Me, Billy, chapters 1 and 2. And again, I'm not an expert on it, but there's quite a few moments and scenes where we crafted the scenes and the story within that scene using cinematic language and symbolism and all that kind of jazz too. So it's really cool. I like that kind of stuff because it makes you think about it more, and some people might consider that to be highbrow, and I think I understand that, but there's a difference between presenting something that's pretentious and condescending and presenting something that just asks your audience to think. Those are two different things. They can be the same thing, but not all horror movies or movies that are quote unquote elevated are pretentious, or treat their audience like they're dumb. I'm sure there are some that do, but not all do. And so, but yeah, anyway, great comment. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it, man. I haven't missed anything, right? Fast Forwards 29, $9.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, great show, Dave, as always. Love when you do these types of shows. Yeah, they're fun to do. Always makes me laugh. If I don't get to catch you live again before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Well, you as well, Fast Forwards. Fast Forwards, not Fast Forwards. Fast Forwards 289, you as well. And thank you for tuning in. Jeff W. sends in $2. Says, Dave, you missed my super chat from earlier. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it, buddy. Let me go back. Sorry about that. The chat moves pretty quick. Let's see if I can get Jeff here. If I can't find him on here, I'll go back to the... there he is. No, is that... Yeah, I guess this is you here, right? Jeffrey sends in $5. Thank you. Says, I'm seeing Christopher Nolan's Interstellar later in IMAX. Awesome. I know this is off topic, but I'm curious, have you seen it? And what are your thoughts? I have seen Interstellar, and I really liked it. I did. I haven't seen it in a little bit, obviously. And did you know that Steven Spielberg was originally going to direct that movie? He was. And then he tossed it over to Nolan because Spielberg got busy with maybe Bridge of Spies or something. It was something else he was doing. But anyway, so I like the movie. I don't think Nolan's really made a bad movie. There's movies that you like more than others, of course, just like anybody's filmography. Obviously, he's one of the titans working today, and I imagine will continue to be. Interstellar, I liked Interstellar, but I think I liked the concept of Interstellar and the premise of Interstellar more than I liked maybe some of the... I felt, and I find this a little bit with Nolan's movies, and maybe... I don't know if you guys feel the same way. And this is where I think it would have been different with Spielberg. Is Nolan's films, I find his characters are usually cold. I don't find that I connect with his characters in the ways that I want to. Now, I know some of you might say, but Dave, what about that scene with Matthew McConaughey who's crying, looking at his daughter who's aged so much and, you know, and he knows he might never see her again. And all. Yeah, that's, of course, in a vacuum, we can look at certain things. I'm talking about overall. I've always found his characters to be cold. Not one-dimensional, but I don't know. I don't feel a lot of emotion for the characters. Maybe a little bit more in Interstellar because of the concept. Whereas Spielberg is amazing with characters. And I am left curious on what a Spielberg Interstellar would be. Same premise. Maybe the story would have changed a bit. I don't know. But the same idea, of course, in terms of the time dilation and string theory and the speed of light and the black holes, not the speed of light, but black holes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I find that all incredibly fascinating, really fascinating. So much so that I wish I knew more about it and I had $10 million to do a movie myself. But I think Spielberg's Interstellar, I would have been able to connect more emotionally with the characters. Now, who knows? It might have been a very different movie, but he's the GOAT. I mean, he's terrific with characters. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I think of, but I did enjoy it. But it's the concept and the premise that I enjoy, I think, a little more than the characters themselves. And one of my favorite science fiction films, though, still to this day, that I think is one of the greatest ever made, that deals with this kind of thing, time dilation, all that kind of stuff, is 1997's Contact, with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey, directed by Robert Zemeckis. It's still one of my favorite science fiction films of all. Because it's grounded, it feels real, right? The science is real, and the science in Interstellar is real too. Interstellar is a little more theatrical, of course, because of all the space and, you know, the effects, but whereas Contact doesn't quite get theatrical, we'll say maybe towards, like, you know, until the end of the movie. But Contact, I love it. I love how grounded it is. I love that they use, like, you know, press conference footage from real press conferences with Bill Clinton, and, you know, and they worked it into the film like it's actually. It was really, really cool. It was really, really cool, and yeah, like I love the concept. You know, the whole idea of that is just so incredibly fucking wild and fascinating, and I like the end of Interstellar when he shows up the same age he was, and Murph is now like 85 years old, you know, and they're holding hands in the bed. Like that's again, in a vacuum, that's a great moment, because it's just like, and that's not science fiction. Like, that's actually fact. That's the theory of relativity. That's actually science fact. It's been proven. Nobody's been able to do it, of course, but it's been proven in small chunks that yes, if I got into a spaceship and was able to travel at the speed of light across the galaxy, and I traveled across, you know, I went 5 years there, 5 years back, I will have aged 10 years and all of you will be dead. Like, that's been proven to be fact. That's wild. And there's just something eerie and surreal about that, something larger than us about that. Do you know what I mean? And it's so fascinating. So I love the concept. I love all that stuff. I just wish I connected a little bit more with the characters. And maybe it was because there wasn't, it felt like we rushed into it a little bit. Like the movie begins and the Earth is already the way it is. And then before you know it, he's already in that meeting with NASA and whatever. And I just kind of like, I feel like, I don't know. I'm left curious of what a Spielberg Interstellar would have been like. I am very curious because Spielberg is in development right now on, at least the title as far as I know, is called The Dish. And it's being reported as an event film, a Spielberg event film. Whoa. Okay, so what is this going to be? I don't know, but it's all about UAPs and UFOs and all this kind of stuff. So I'm really curious on what that's going to be. Really curious on what that's going to be. All right, let me see here. Okay, have I got all the... I think I've got it all. I just want to make sure I do, but... have I got all the super chats? Oh no, there's Jeff. Oh no, yeah. I'm seeing, no. Yeah. That's the one I got. Yes. Okay. All right. I've got it. Good. Good. What are we at here? Okay. A few more minutes. Batshit Scary says, Interstellar took a couple of watches. Sometimes Nolan can overcomplicate things. Tenet was a perfect example of this, but overall I have loved Nolan's and often go back to watch Inception often. Yeah. Okay. Beep. Jurassic Park is the best movie he made, in my opinion. Steven Spielberg, it's up there for sure. I mean, he's well, I've talked about this, why I think he's the greatest of all time. It's not just his filmography. It's the cultural impact at a very impressionable and changing time in the entertainment industry. I mean, Spielberg, you just say the name Spielberg and it's basically a synonym for Hollywood. I mean, and when you get to that level, I mean, there aren't too many directors out there that you can say a last name. I mean, it's like Elvis. You say the name Elvis, instantaneously, you know who we're talking about. You know what I mean? It's impressive. And it's not just the movies he directed, it's the movies he produced that he helped spearhead. It was at a very, the late 70s, early 80s was a very, it was a changing time in the entertainment industry, especially for movies and blockbusters and all that kind of stuff. And so when it comes to populist movies, when it comes to the mainstream Hollywood populist films, I do think Steven Spielberg is the greatest of all time. And I still think he's got it. I mean, obviously, like any filmography, any director, they do their stuff and then they go off and they do some passion projects and they slow down a bit and they do things, whatever. But I thought Ready Player One was a perfect example of old school Spielberg, and how had Ready Player One come out 30 years earlier, had Ready Player One come out in 1988 instead of 2018, or 1985 or something, that movie would be considered a classic today, just like Back to the Future or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think he's still got it for sure. I'm very curious to see what this new event film of his is going to be like. Should be interesting. All right, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me here on episode 298 of McRae Live. I want to thank, of course, my moderators for doing what you guys do. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you, of course, to the super chats that came in and the member chats. Really appreciate that as well. And if you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on anything I had to say here today, but especially those half-star reviews of Halloween 1978. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Jump into the comment section and let me know. I would like to know. If you want to follow me on social media, you can. All my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. That is going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend, folks. And I will be back soon. Alrighty. In the meantime and in between time, cheers.